Hello, and welcome back to another episode with Panda Raph and Mr. Tango. Yeah, so today we're going over some more body work. I know I've been talking about doing the posterior leg and hip for several episodes now, but unfortunately I totally spaced actually filming that part of the session. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Hopefully we'll get it in another session. I'm sure she'll be happy enough to let us do this again. But we're going to go ahead and get into some back work. We might get into some arm work today as well. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Alright, getting the sheet ready. Oh, look at those draping skills. Just beautiful. Man, oh man. I keep it pretty basic. Although good draping skills, a little on the boring side. I'm sure all of you right now are just so excited about how I drape the back. I know I am. Alright, so we got this part right here. Let's skip forward a little bit here. So I think, for me, what really connected me to some of the Swedish style, or I should say more Swedish styles of massage, was just the application of lotion. You know, I use a gel, but application of gel, and just getting proper coverage on the back, because that for me really sets the pace, really sets the tone for the rest of the back work. I like to do full work, right? I like to be thorough with my work, and I'm sure you've kind of picked up on that throughout some of the videos that we've done. But so let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing here. So 2 soft fists down the back. You can't go wrong with this. I mean, you can kind of overextend yourself. You can see my shoulders there. They were kind of creeping up. They're still creeping up. So body mechanics can be a little rough on the massage therapist if they're not careful. But that is just a fantastic move right there. And of course, right here, I picked this up in a myofascial class. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically working in just 2 opposite directions, just allowing my body weight to kind of come down as my fists separate, go in opposite directions. And what we're doing here is we're kind of almost stacking the effect of the stroke itself, because not only are we getting a soft fist and another soft fist, but in between there, as they cross each other and there's that little bit of tension in between the different directions, you're almost getting like a third stroke there. So I think it's an amazing opener and closer for back work in general. And what you have to watch out for, though, is, I'm sure you saw my wrist there. Wrist and shoulder alignment can be a big deal. And of course, you know, the head kind of can get in the way as you're doing some of this. So you just have to be careful with it. That's all. But for me, it's been my opener for a very long time. I think it does a great job of just kind of like getting the back to open up. Now, of course, here we have my real bread and butter, the elbow, right? And I'm sure for so many massage therapists, this is just like the go-to. This is the tool. Yeah, if there's ever like any kind of like legendary technique when it comes to massage, it's really just the humble elbow stroke, gliding elbow, right? Like it's just so basic. It's just so reliable. Because like as you see right here, so I started to do the stroke, and then I realized like that shoulder is mad, right? Looks like around the attachment of the levator scapulae muscle. Of course, we're getting into the rhomboids and trapezius muscle as well. But it's great to just be able to just compress, just be in a static position and compress some of this tissue. Just let the elbow sink into it. As you'll see with my hand right here, I'm not making a fist or anything. In fact, you can kind of say like go limp, just relax. For any massage therapists out there who are learning how to do this technique, I feel that's essential. A nice, relaxed hand. When you start to clench up the fist, it will absolutely have an effect on the tension of the elbow right here. Remembering that all these muscles in the hand connect down to the medial epicondyle right here. Well, I shouldn't say all. I mean, we're going to get the lateral epicondyle, but around the elbow is the point that I'm trying to make. So keep that hand nice and relaxed. Now, the criticism that I will always point out about my body mechanics is the short stance. I mean, that leg should be in line with my back, the back leg right there. Now, I continue to use a short stance, though, and I've talked about this in the past. I like to use short stances because of the working space that I normally am in. Even just kind of looking at this room in and of itself, right? Like there's stuff on the floor. She didn't set up her house for me, right? And that's totally understandable. Like when I come into somebody's home, I have to work with what they've got. And I mean, that just comes with the territory of being a mobile massage therapist. So a lot of the time, I don't have a lot of space to work with. This is actually a decent amount of space. So I naturally have adapted to using a shorter stance. You'll hear about it in Russian massage a little bit. Now, is my stance still a little too narrow? Probably. I should be up on the more on the balls of my feet, or at least with the back foot. And that's so I can generate power. It makes it a lot easier to generate power when that is like the basis of the stance right here is the ball of the foot. So you can lift the heel and drive the body forward, and you're using the legs and not using the upper body to create pressure. Now, even with the short stance, my back is still relatively straight. My head is still, well, this is a bad example. I'm like looking down at her. But for the most part, my eyes are forward, my head's forward, my back there's a little bit of a curve there. There absolutely is. And my shoulders are starting to creep up a bit. But in general, it's not terrible. There we go again. We're talking about something. Must have been awesome. Let's go ahead and skip forward a little bit here. Because I mean, as awesome as using the elbow is with this kind of work where you're just kind of leaning into it, just kind of allowing the tissue to accept it. I mean, it's kind of like watching paint dry, you know. It's not super fun. But I should say that this is a big part of my philosophy, is just kind of letting the tissue accept the technique. I mean, you can have a lot of pressure behind it sometimes, but you do have to be patient with the body. Don't know what's going on here. Let's keep skipping forward. Really getting into the traps, it looks like. This is a bad angle. We'll have to come back to this some other time, I think. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so this stroke, I'm actually taking some knuckles along the serratus anterior muscle. So I'm actually getting into a little bit of the ribs. Now, at the same time, I'm also taking another set of knuckles around the top of the scapula, across the trapezius, even getting into a little bit of supraspinatus there. So I'm kind of doing like this ulnar deviation around the scapula. I love that technique for a couple of reasons. One, the serratus teres minor blat area that I'm working through right now doesn't get touched as much as it should. It really doesn't, and it contributes to so much in the shoulder, and we just don't touch it. And so I absolutely think you should. And at the same time, you can kind of balance yourself out as you're doing the technique by working on the shoulder as well, working through that second and third head of the trapezius muscle. So again, you're just taking your knuckles and kind of just rounding around that scapula. Just so good. So good. Let's move forward here. Oh, so we're getting into a little bit of Guasha here, and I was explaining to her what's going to be happening. So let's get to a better angle. Let's see here. Okay. So for those of you out there who aren't aware of what Guasha is, it's basically a scraping technique. And as you'll see right now, I've got a very humble and basic miso spoon. So for me, it's like the elbow and the miso spoon is like that's like the ultimate combo when it comes to laying down some therapy for somebody. Guasha is a fantastic additive to your massage if you're doing more of the therapeutic styles. I believe here in the States, another name for it is Graston technique. I'm not entirely sure how similar those two things are, but from my knowledge, they're very, very similar. And so what you'll see that I'm doing here is I'm kind of, I guess scraping is a bit of an abrasive word, but we are kind of doing a scraping motion along the tissue. And the basic nature of the spoon and the edge that we're using with it does a really nice job of kind of like encouraging and influencing the tissue to lengthen and to relax. And what I've noticed is it really helps to hold the rest of the work. So like when I do a massage, sometimes I'll get people who are saying stuff like, the results might last a couple of weeks. For some people, it might last a couple of days. And that kind of breaks my heart, like they just spent all this money and they only felt better for a couple of days. That bites. But with Guasha, so with this basic spoon that I'm using here, those 2-day people turn into like 7-day people, right? And that's awesome. That means we're making progress. That means we're doing something. Anytime I use this technique, I should say 90% of the time when I use this technique, we get radical results right away. The other 10% of the time I try to use it, it's just a little too intense. The person wasn't ready for it. Maybe we'll try it next time. And then, they become part of the 90% there. But let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, we're just going back and forth. It's a very basic technique, very straightforward. Now, what you're not seeing is I'm kind of pressing in a certain direction when I do it, though, right? Like the away stroke, I'm pressing just a little bit more than the back stroke when it comes towards me. So it's not necessarily just a back and forth technique. I am like encouraging the tissue in a certain direction. This is also a technique that kind of like cupping is going to bring stuff to the surface, and it almost looks like you have that bruising type of effect going on. It's not bruising, it's just blood being brought to the surface, but it can look really gnarly. It can look so I'll do it on myself and it looks like someone tried to like choke me to death when I do it on the front of my neck, because this is also great self-care. And just about anybody can do this. And when you're doing it on areas like the shoulder and the neck, even the front of the neck, like that's totally accessible for you to do. And I mean, a spoon like this, I'm pretty sure this one cost me like $1.05 or something like that. So I think you can afford it. I don't think it'll break the bank here. Yeah, super basic though, super awesome. Ask your massage therapist about it. They might do this. And maybe they're in a position like me where they were kind of just waiting for something to happen. They were waiting for someone to ask about it. They were waiting for the opportunity to do it. I've been trying to bring this up for years. I've been trying to get it into my practice for a long time, but people were freaked out by the after effect. Even if they got good results, they didn't like the markings that it left. They were kind of put off because they're paying for hands on the body, essentially, in a lot of massage sessions. So they might have thought they were put off by that. So, but I got more confident with it. I found some opportunities to use it, and now I'm really happy that I use it quite frequently throughout my sessions, because I am known for doing a more therapeutic session, for getting results. I'm not necessarily the type of massage therapist that you're going to invite over because just to de-stress, and I do that style of massage. Don't get me wrong. I can do a very basic, straightforward Swedish massage that is just helps the body connect, reintegrate with itself, just chill out, sedate. But for the most part, a lot of what my sessions are a bit on the stimulating side, actually, because we are getting into some sensitive areas. But don't get me wrong, I like to mix both of them. I try to end my sessions as best as possible with those very relaxing strokes, those I love you strokes, those you are safe, you can be calm type of strokes. So I think you can mix the both of them together. Let's keep moving forward, though. This video is getting a bit on the long side already. Yeah, so we're doing more of that, and it's kind of cool because you're like, it's really intuitive. You wouldn't think using a spoon would feel intuitive, but you can definitely, absolutely feel the tissue. And again, back to this, just double soft fist down the back, so good, so good. Watch the shoulders though, keep the shoulders nice and low. My wrists look pretty good on that one. That, I don't know what that was. If we're just going back to that basic opener that I did earlier. I thought we did something else in this session. Let's move forward a little bit here. Alright, so I skipped a little more of the elbow strokes. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but what we're getting into here is we're putting some cups on the back. So I really like kind of up by that like T1, C7 type of area. So like, upper back, where the neck meets your back, like getting some cups on the trapezius right there. Oh, it's just so good. It's so good. And what I really like about the cups is it just allows you to work in so many different places at once. So now we're getting some on the low back as well. And again, with that thoracolumbar fascia, that big piece of fascia that you got in the low back right there, it's so indicated to have something to influence that tissue. And I think cupping is great. And like I talked about in earlier videos, some massage therapists don't like to have the cupping in static positions like that. Me, I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. If there's a real stubborn area, you can hit it with some cupping and some guasha before you start getting into using your hands over it, and you're going to find that there is a big difference from your normal starting point with that client. I do apologize. I thought we had the other arm in the footage here that you would actually be able to see because my big bulbous body wouldn't be in the way. No, that was mean. I shouldn't say mean things about myself. My big, beautiful body is in the way, is something I should say. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I think we're going to do more videos like this in the future. I know I've got a lot of footage from the past 14 years of me doing this, so we're probably going to criticize a lot of it and see how we can improve together. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I do look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, if you'd like to book an appointment, if you'd like to pick up my book, of course you could do that off of our website. But thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you have a great day. I love you so very much. And always remember to be safe and stay safe. Be awesome and stay awesome. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.